And that would be a continuation of the break of parabola, test the 50% and pump. Break the parabola, test the 50% and pump. Break the parabola, test the 50% and pump. So as long as the DXY is above 107.7, I'm still, sort of erring on the side of bullishness for the US dollar index. If we start to fall below that level, if we start to come back below 107.7, then I would say, okay, it's looking like we're not doing this pattern anymore. Now it's looking like momentum is shifting if we get below 107.7. Today, for the weekly chart for the US dollar index, we are starting to see a little bit of rejection. Though, of course, we are only in the middle of the week and this weekly candle has not closed. But it's at least a sign that maybe momentum could be slowing down, right? It's a possibility, but it really depends on how the weekly closes, right? It's Wednesday. We have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? We're 4 days away from this weekly actually closing. But so far at the moment, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown, but at the same time, we are still within the parabola itself. So basically what we're seeing today is that this little rejection so far on the weekly is allowing Bitcoin to find some support, right? Though we are still in a significant lower high trajectory. Bitcoin has not yet reclaimed the 20,000 level. And, until then, it's still kind of insignificant. I would say, you would want to see this come up and close somewhere above 20K to even really start considering that it's a bottom formation. But we're in the midst of something that's at least interesting to look at. And in the last video, we were talking about the US dollar index and how it still has the momentum, it's still within the parabola, and how every time we keep creating these parabolas, we break below them and create a larger one, come up, break below the parabola, create a larger one, come up. And so, is it possible that maybe the US dollar index does see temporary downside? I mean, it can happen, but that still doesn't mean that we're not in a much larger parabola. So it's still a bit unclear. It is a bit unclear, though. Today we are seeing some upside. And the difference between Ethereum's chart and Bitcoin's chart, look at this, guys. It is so significant. Look at that. Bitcoin nearly testing the lows and Ethereum not even getting anywhere close to the low. And what we're seeing right now is that Ethereum is kind of supporting the market. It's keeping Bitcoin from dumping lower. And because the US dollar index, we're seeing a little bit of a bounce on the stock market. If we go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, we can see that right now Bitcoin dominance, this is actually the daily chart for Bitcoin dominance. It has been flying down. And well, a lot of people have been wondering, why is that? Well, if you look at this date right here, guys, it's pretty obvious. Look, June 10th of 2022 is when we hit that peak. And if you look at Ethereum, June 10th of 2022 was about right here, right? And Ethereum played out this epic rebound from 800 all the way up to over 2,000, a 130% bounce from the low to this high. Epic rebound with barely a retrace in comparison to Bitcoin. Bitcoin went from the low, up 43%, Ethereum 130% and barely coming back to the low. Bitcoin came back to the low. And well, that answers your question about why Bitcoin dominance is dumping. It's because Ethereum is starting to eat up some of the market share here, guys. Ethereum is coming in hot into the crypto market here, going into the merge, I mean. So that is why we're seeing Bitcoin dominance kind of just hanging out down there. And today, going down to the lower time frames, people are getting excited. We're seeing a little bit of a round off that low here, coming up a little bit. Though again, I mean, we're still below the trend line here, so it's not all too significant in my opinion. Not until we at least reclaim 20,000 and maintain that. Until then, it's not really anything to brag about, I would say. Though, like I've been saying in all my videos, if you're buying Bitcoin below 20K, if you're buying Ethereum at 1,500, it is fantastic prices for the long term. It's just unclear at the moment of whether we have hit the bottom or not. And it's unclear because of the US dollar index. While it might look like we're getting a major rejection here on the weekly, well, we're still ways away from actually closing this weekly, and the DXY weekly could still come up, close higher, and get continuation within the parabola. And it's still unclear, in my opinion, even if we do get a bearish close on the DXY, because look at this, guys, every time we break the parabola, we just come up. So we break the parabola, I mean, who's to say we don't just go up again? One interesting thing I noticed about the US dollar index is that on all of these runs, when you go from the swing low to swing high, it tests back down to the 50% retrace here, right? From low to high, 50%. And if you take the fib, you go from that low to the next high here, comes down generally right around that 50%, closes right above it. So if this pattern was going to continue for the US dollar index, if you go from that swing low to the current swing high, which is still not technically confirmed, but that swing high there, it means that we can still maintain this current pattern of pumping, dumping to the 50%, as long as the DXY is above 107.70. So 107.70 is about the level where the DXY can come down to 107.7, and that would be a continuation of the break of parabola, test the 50% and pump. Break the parabola, test the 50% and pump. Break the parabola, test the 50% and pump. So as long as the DXY is above 107.7, I'm still, sort of erring on the side of bullishness for the US dollar index. If we start to fall below that level, if we start to come back below 107.7, then I would say, okay, it's looking like we're not doing this pattern anymore. Now it's looking like momentum is shifting if we get below 107.7. So that is my key level right now for continuation for the US dollar index. And if we do fall below 107.7, guys, that could be the signal of what we were talking about, of how what we need is not necessarily the US dollar index to go down, but to just go sideways. And in history, when the US dollar index loses momentum and goes sideways, Bitcoin bounces and finds a bottom. So for now, it's too close to call. The US dollar index is still within the parabola. The weekly candle has not closed. We're still above 107.7. We're still above the 50% retrace. Bitcoin's still hanging out way down at this low here. I mean, though right now it kind of looks like if we did bounce, it'd be a fantastic buy, which is why I'm making it clear that long term, these are great accumulation levels. I don't want to call the bottom here until I have the signal from the US dollar index that we're, falling below key levels and essentially starting to go sideways, right? Because once we go sideways, then Bitcoin can go bottom out and go to the moon. Right now, all eyes are on Ethereum. Ethereum is taking that Bitcoin dominance way down here. And Ethereum does have the merge coming up, the most important fundamental event for crypto. And I suppose there could be hype around that going into it. And maybe we see Ethereum support the market until then. Maybe Bitcoin can maintain these levels until the merge. Is the merge going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news, or, a sell the news event? That, we'll see. Hard to say. But yeah, I mean, for now, as long as the US dollar index is coming down on this weekly candle, I suppose we could see a little bit of support come in. But again, calling the bottom here, in my opinion, it's just too uncertain. I could see an attempted bounce at this level, right? Because we're so close to the low, so close that, yeah, we could see an attempted bounce here. But will it sustain? I don't know. That's likely going to be due or going to be up to the US dollar index, of course. But again, it's only Wednesday. We have the entire half a week ahead of us to see how this weekly candle closes. And remember, the 50% retrace below the parabola, right? 107.7. If we hold that, it looks like continuation. If we start to close, weeklies below 107.7, then I would actually get a lot more bullish on Bitcoin at that point. So I'm just taking it as it comes, taking the signals as they come, and just going with what the chart is telling me. So we're still a little bit of like an in-between stage right now, but kind of just wanted to hop on and share my thoughts with you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Smash the like, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.